Greetings, friend, entrepreneur, and fellow business builder. I'm Marketing Master Jim Ackerman, and welcome to BizKaboom, YouTube's program for small business marketing. Coming up on today's program, we'll be visiting with Jasaon Alba, the founder of Jibber Bobber, a cloud-based system for managing job searches, and also the author of best-selling books on how to use Facebook and LinkedIn to benefit your career and your business. It's not a happy time when we have to start a new year worrying about all the turmoil going on in the world, but it is what it is, and we are sadly shifting into what I'm calling the terror economy. We will take a look at that with some suggestions on how you can survive and thrive in spite of it. Today, we're highly privileged to have with us Andrew Locke, one of the greatest business building YouTubers out there, the host of Help My Business, and we'll be talking to Andrew about some of his key secrets for extraordinary marketing success. He's an Englishman, so gear up for his accent. I know you're going to love it. And we'll be showing off an incredible dimensional bonding campaign in a segment we like to call Good, Bad, and Ugly Ads. All this and more, so let's get started helping you get more customers who will pay you more money more often, the fastest, easiest, most cost-effective ways possible, right here on BizKaboom Small Business Marketing. My next guest is Jasaon Alba, and he's got a fascinating story because he developed a website called Jibber Bobber for those people who are in the job search mode. He's going to talk about that with us for just a minute. He's also an author. He's written books about Facebook and LinkedIn and what you do on those. But today we're going to talk specifically about Jibber Bobber and the implications that, believe it or not, a job search website would have for you as a small business person, as an employer. I think what Jasaon has to say is going to be a little bit surprising to you. Let's welcome him now. Jasaon, come on in. Greetings. Thanks for joining us. Have a seat. All right, so I've always been intrigued by the basic story of how you developed Jibber Bobber in the first place. So could you, briefly give us the backstory on what brought Jibber Bobber into existence?
Yeah, sure. So it was back in 2006. I was on the corporate track. I was a general manager of a software company. And I had gotten my MBA, and I had all the education I needed to be successful. That's what they said. And I ended up getting laid off. And it's a typical story. Everybody has their own layoff story. I have, it's basically the same as everybody else's. What I found out, though, was that the job search was really hard. It wasn't anything like I thought it was going to be. And so what I did was really all the wrong things. I went to Monster, and I applied online, and I tried to have different resumes, and I tried to play the numbers game. And what I learned was it might have been a numbers game, but I didn't like the numbers. You had to apply to maybe 1,000 or 2,000 places. Wow. I had friends who had done that I met in my job search, and they had 0 responses. Whew. And so I started to kind of unravel this process and figure out what I was doing wrong. And in this unraveling, I found that a tool that was missing for job seekers was a tracking tool. So we have Excel spreadsheets, we have sticky notes, we had Franklin Day planners, and some people are writing notes on their hands and stuff like that. Right. And what I thought was, well, why don't we have access to what salespeople have, which is a CRM, a customer relationship management tool. And I thought, well, why don't I make a tool like that that's easy to use and deliver it to people who are in the job search? There was nothing like it at the time. And so I got some people together, I wrote out some ideas, and within 2 months of finding my team, we launched jibberbobber.com.
The cool part about what you're saying here is that job seekers need to take the same approach to looking for a job that a small business person or a big business person, any kind of marketer, needs to take, and recognize that potential employer is basically your customer, and you have to go sell that person, and that may take building a relationship, take a variety of contacts, those kinds of things, and you've built that all into Jibber Bobber.
Absolutely. I mean, I actually have people who use Jibber Bobber not in a job search at all, but for sales and marketing. And what I learned in the job search was that my job as a job seeker was probably 95% the same as a salesperson. And we have to maintain relationships over time, especially now with the way careers are. Nobody's at a company for, I don't know, 10 years might seem long to be at a certain company. And with that in mind, if we're switching less than every 10 years, who are our friends? Who do we know? Who knows us? And I think we should proactively manage those relationships, which is not anything that I ever learned in school or in preparation for a real career.
And one of the implications for our viewers is that if you own a business, you need to manage your relationships with your customers. So what Jason's saying about some of his users who are using it as a sales CRM is they're managing their customer relationships with his software. We've talked about this before, whether you use whatever the software you use is, those relationships have to be managed. You train your customers as to how to interact with you, how to do business with you. You have to have that as a defined process that you're going to walk through. Now, next thing I want to talk about is the new elements of Jibber Jobber that you're bringing into play relative to employer branding. That's a term that is a little bit new. It's going to be new to most small business folks. I want you to talk about what is employer branding, why a small business with anywhere from 1 to, say, 20 employees would be concerned about it, and then we'll talk about how Jibber Jobber is actually filling some of those needs.
Well, as a business owner, what I found is the best marketing I can have is one of my users who loves Jibber Jobber to go out and tell friends and family about Jibber Jobber. That's way better than almost anything else that I could think of doing. And that's branding, really. That's the idea of my user or customer or even a prospect having an idea of who we are and feeling like we have a relationship, whether there's trust one-to-one or they like what the product or service is or whatever it is, they feel like they want to go out and talk about it. So I heard something years ago that, one customer who loves your product will tell X number of people, and somebody who hates your product or has a bad experience with you will tell many times
more,
that.
Yeah.
And I found that in the job search. I would go to job clubs with other job seekers, and we would sit around and talk about the companies where we had interviewed that week or that month, and people would say, don't ever go to that company or don't ever talk to that person because they treated me like this.
Wow.
Or the process was like that. And it was interesting because in this group of job seekers, now mind you, a lot of these people are educated. Some of them had master's degrees. A lot of them had been in management or leadership positions. They were sitting around talking about who they were essentially as a family or individually going to blackball and not want to work there, not buy their services, never say anything good about them. That's the impact of employer branding.
Wow, and we spend so much time thinking about branding our company to the public at large, the people who could be our customers. We forget about the fact that, hey, at some level, our employees and our customers as well, and our prospective employees are our prospects as well. So what's Jibber Jobber doing to help our small business folks with that employee or employer branding concept?
We're just getting into this space. I was talking to some recruiters and I presented my ideas and they said, nobody's really doing this, but Glassdoor's kind of doing it. And surprisingly, they said LinkedIn's not really doing it. The idea is to have people who are actively engaged in our website, right? So people aren't coming in and reading a news article or something like that. They're really coming in, entering data, looking at reports and things like that. They're spending quite a bit of time in the system and their attention is in our system. What we want to do is basically say, hey, you might not have thought about this opportunity before or this company, but here's something that you should check out. Now, the idea is that we're a trusted environment. I mean, they're putting information into the system and they trust us with their information. They trust us with their time. So if they come in and we say, you really ought to look at this opportunity, I'm hoping that will kind of turn some heads and have some people say, I never really wanted to work for that kind of a company or in that industry, but it really makes a lot of sense. Can I give you an example?
Sure, please.
When I was in my job search, I had my resume on Monster. And what I didn't realize was that meant there were tens of thousands of people who had access to my phone number and my home address and stuff like that. And so I learned, get a special number and email address for your resume when you post it on job boards. But I started getting phone calls, and they seemed to be around dinner time, which was really annoying. For me, this was family time. And it was hey, come and learn about this opportunity. And it's a group interview. And right off the bat, group interview for me was red flags. And it's a sales opportunity. And I thought, I didn't go to school all these years, on the management track so I can go be a salesperson. Well, it turned out that it was at insurance companies. And I thought, there's no way. I have zero interest in doing what I've seen those insurance people do, which is drive around, go into people's living rooms, trying to sell them on the next policy. Well, a year or two ago, I was at a camp, and I was chatting with a guy. We were stuck together at a station manning the canoes, and he was a district manager at one of these insurance companies, and he started to explain to me what the opportunity was. And at that camp, I was getting really excited. I thought, man, if I would have known about this back then. But see, the brand for me was kind of a sleazy and really hard job, and maybe you'll make it. But when he started explaining to me the opportunity and what it meant for a long-term career, I got really excited. And that's what I want to do. I want to help people turn from their assumptions with better information and a better introduction to what the opportunity really is, have a better idea of what it would be like to work at or do business with your company.
So 2 messages for you as a small business person. Number 1, you need to educate people as to the nuances of your enterprise, as well in some cases as your specific business. The other thing is you have to, as an employer, pay attention to brand. So whether you're a job seeker or whether you are seeking people to be employed by you, jibberjobber.com, good place to go. I recommend it. Jason, thank you, sir, for joining us. Appreciate it. We'll have you back soon. Thank you. All right. Hey, the truth of the matter is, I'm not very happy about what I'm going to have to discuss with you right now, and you probably aren't going to be happy about hearing it. But terrorism is on the increase worldwide and right here in the United States. How many dead in Paris? How many more in San Bernardino? The fact of the matter is, terrorism will impact the way we do business, either right now, in the future, or probably both. We're going to have to deal with it.
They're saying in the U.S. alone, there were over 350 mass shootings in 2015. That's about 1 a day. Now, to be fair, that includes all incidents where at least 4 people were shot. So you'd be including gang violence and other criminal-on-criminal situations, along with domestic violence. And while neither of these situations can really be called terrorism, let's face it, there's enough of the real terrorism to go around. The question is, how is it impacting your behavior and that of everyone around you?
Yeah, I know what you're supposed to say. You don't change your behavior at all due to terrorism. Hey, when your number's up, it's up, all that kind of stuff. But come on, be honest. Tell me you've never given it a second thought how you might change your behavior to keep yourself from getting into a sticky situation.
Point is, I believe people may not be changing their behavior yet, but the more these things happen, the more we'll all start thinking and acting differently. And as a business, you better be prepared for all of it. I mean, all contingencies. You're going to have to look at, number 1, your own internal security policies, procedures, and practices. Number 2, your comparative weaknesses versus your competition. This is vis-a-vis being a safety-friendly business destination. Number 3, your comparative strengths versus your competition vis-a-vis being a safety-friendly business destination. Number 4, your selling processes relative to prospect confidence and security. Number 5, your delivery processes relative to prospect confidence and security. And number 6, your marketing messaging relative to safety and security issues. Now, I'm not going to talk about the specifics of security measures that you can and should take, but the rest of these 6 do have marketing message implications. Your comparative strengths and weaknesses as a shopping destination, for example. Who do you believe people are going to be more comfortable patronizing? The establishment that is in a mall where a lot of people tend to gather, or the freestanding establishment? The establishment with or without security cameras, the one with or without those cameras extending to the parking lot. The place with patrolling security guards or without. The place with an armed security guard on duty or the one without.
The question is, should you actually advertise your security measures in an effort to help your prospects and customers feel greater safety in coming to your location?
Now, what about your selling processes? Is it time to background check and drug check all of your employees? How about making them wear name badges? Should you incorporate a dress code or grooming standards? Naturally, you want your customers and prospects to know what to expect. That way they'll feel more comfortable in general and be able to tell if something isn't quite right in dubious situations. When you're sending your technicians into someone's home, for example, there isn't much danger of terrorism per se, but the more we hear of both terrorism and violent crime in neighborhoods, the more these kinds of standards will resonate with consumers, and the more they'll be willing to pay to have that kind of peace of mind. The way you deliver your products or services, including the environment in which that commerce takes place, is important. Convenience stores move money to a safe inaccessible to managers and staff on a regular basis, then post signage to let would-be thieves know there isn't enough money hanging around to risk the dangers of robbing the place. The signage is a message to the bad guys, of course, and to the good customers. The sign means different things to the two groups, but they get the point across both ways. And as for online selling, if you're not doing it, you should be going toward doing it now, along with setting up discreet delivery to online buyers. And remember, the only way people are going to know about the safety measures you take is if you tell them. At some point in time, the security measures and the messages about them are going to have to creep into your advertising. But you won't be doing it on postcards and in 30-second radio spots. This will require old-fashioned, highly informative marketing. You're going to have to tell a story in greater detail than you have in the past if you're going to turn the terror economy from a liability for your small business into a meaningful asset. It may not be a huge traffic attractor at the beginning, although I can't say it won't either. But as you start to tout your security thinking, preparations, procedures, and so forth, people will take notice. The secret will be to come across as a sincere, well-considered, deliberate part of what you do and how you serve your clients.
You may want to start small and ramp it up. Maybe a couple of social media posts followed by a blog. Eventually, you'll want to have full explanations on your website, your direct mail, and eventually all of your advertising. One thing you can bet on, the businesses who get ahead of the curve on this will have an advantage, either in preserving their business or actually getting a leg up on the competition. Stick with us, we'll be back with more of Biz Kaboom, but I don't mean kaboom. Well, look, I'm really honored to have our next guest with us because he is one of the rock stars of marketing on YouTube. He has a show called Help My Business, and there isn't anybody better than Andrew Locke. Not only that, he's also an author of several business books. This is his latest. We're going to talk to him about this and lots of other groovy alternative ways to market and build your business. So please help me welcome Andrew Locke. Come on in, Andrew.
Good to see you, Jim.
Good to see you.
Thanks.
I always like to hear the Brits.
Oh, well, thanks for having me.
You know, it says on the back of the book you're known as the Yoda of marketing, not because you have green pointy ears, but it's because of that accent, I'm sure, is what it's really all about.
Apparently. Yeah.
Well, thanks for joining me, especially in one
pleasure.
of these initial programs. I count it as one of the great honors. I feel like I'm not worthy. You know, you've been doing this for a while and doing it so well.
You're very talented in your own right.
Thank you very much. Well, look, okay, so one of the challenges that seems to me that small business people have is the fact that, number one, they don't focus on marketing in the first place.
Absolutely. Most people don't even know what it means.
Yeah, exactly. And so how do you convince a small business person, maybe a carpet cleaner or a photographer or a small business retailer, whether it's clothing or whatever it happens to be, to look away from their passion, which got them into the business in the first place, and recognize, hey, there's this thing called marketing, and if I'm going to succeed, I better do it.
I think ultimately it has to come from themselves. So I actually don't see myself as persuading them, because I don't think that I can. If it's someone that I'm working, maybe a friend, for example, that I'm working with one-on-one individually, and they're open to help, then, I can educate them a little bit. But generally, like with the viewers of my show, they're viewing because they already realize that they need help, and they're also open to the idea of exploring marketing methods that anything that works, basically. So there's definitely different camps of people. There's the group that just are never gonna understand, sadly, that marketing is the most important thing in your business. If you think of yourself as a plumber, you're in the plumbing business. You're not a plumber. You should be a marketer.
Of plumbing services,
right. The function is what everybody sort of gets wrapped up with, but it's the marketing that counts. We've seen it time and time again, from small businesses to big businesses. One example I refer to a lot is, which I'm sure you would remember, is VHS versus Betamax, when that first came out, and that was
Take it from a beta fan.
That was a big one, because Sony, huge company, very, very successful, and yet they did a poor job with the marketing. And as a result, the countless millions of dollars that they invested in that technology was completely wiped out, because Panasonic and the other companies that were involved with VHS, that other format, did a much better job at marketing. And the interesting thing about it is, Beta was actually a much better format.
You're exactly right.
The quality was better. It was just better all round. But it's a great example, because, again, it proves the point. It's never about having the best product. It never, ever, ever. Of course, we want our product to be good, or service, but just having that does not mean that it's going to be successful. You know that.
Sure. So is it safe for me to assume that one of the lessons that you can learn from big brands is not to make the Sony mistake? Is that in the book?
Actually, it's not in this book, but it is in one of my other books. This book, actually, as soon as you brought it up, and thanks for mentioning it, this book actually is a kind of a spin-off of a segment in my online show called Help My Business. And what I do is, in every episode, I feature an example of something that a big business has done, usually positive, but occasionally negative. And I show the viewers how they can adapt the principle to a small business, because we tend to look at a big business and we think, well, that's, we can't do what they do, but actually we can adapt the principle. We can't directly adopt the idea, but we can adapt the principles. So every chapter is a bite-sized marketing lesson. I'm just turning to one here as an example. Chapter 27, Nintendo. So, I don't know if you remember when the Wii console came out. That was a revolution, because it was the first time you had these handheld controllers, and people were slinging them accidentally through the TV sets and so on. Anyway, that was the negative. But what I picked up on with Nintendo was that when that console first came out, people were literally lining around the block of Walmart and Best Buy and these big box stores. They were phoning, have you got any in? Have you got any in? And a lot of people don't realize that, or didn't realize at the time, that was a deliberate strategy by Nintendo. They deliberately limited the quantity that they released each time to the stores, because that further drove the demand. And
you know where they learned that?
Where?
De Beers and the diamond business. Diamonds aren't necessarily any more scarce than a ruby or something else.
But as soon as you make it scarce,
De Beers has the corner on the market.
Yeah.
They only allow so many out each year, and that's
it.
How,
that's absolutely the case. So again, the principle there is, consider making a product or a service have some element of scarcity. Make it to increase the demand. pull back on the supply. I only have 3 of these available. It's that kind of thing. So that's an example anyway of this the content of this book. Each chapter adapts a principle really from a big company. So it's a great fun to put that together, and it's certainly helping a lot of people.
So in the few minutes, obviously people should get your book, but let's back up for just a minute and say, as small business folks, what are your recommendations for the top 2 or probably 3 principles that somebody who has been convinced that it's time to get serious about marketing should look at, the first things that they should do to become a better marketer?
Absolutely. The number 1 top thing is to zag where others zig, let's say, because unfortunately, again, because most business owners' mindsets are not on the marketing, they tend to copy each other. And so, let's go back to the plumber example. The plumber places an ad in Yellow Pages because that's what every other plumber does. And that's what happens. And so as a result of that, no one stands out from the crowd. You just end up with the sea of same looking ads. They even look identical.
Yes, they do.
The same format. So that's the biggest thing. If you want to stand out from the crowd, you have to do something different. So that's like the first principle. The second thing is, in order to stand out from the crowd, one of the best ways is to position yourself as an expert in the industry. And again, it's much easier than most people realize to do this. Simply having a book makes you an expert. The old adage, everybody has a book in them. It's true. Even if you're not a writer, you could do an interview like this, have it recorded, transcribe it, and that can be that content can be created into a book.
One of the things about expertise is that it takes a while to demonstrate it.
Yeah.
And so many folks are thinking that the old adage of keep it simple, stupid really means keep it short, stupid. And length provides you an opportunity to demonstrate your expertise often, and that's something that's often overlooked by many marketers.
Absolutely. And like I said, it is easier than most people realize. And it really changes the dynamic. That's what we're looking for here, is because when you have a book, instead of you constantly going out and trying to sell people, when they come across the book, and obviously that requires you to get it out there, but it's again, it's easier than most people realize to do that. But let's go back to the example of the plumber. And I'm the plumber, I've got my little guide or book, and it's maybe the 7 things you must know before you hire any plumber. And, maybe you call me and I say, well, we talk a little bit about my service. Can I send you my free guide, my consumer guide, 7 secrets or 7 things you must know before you hire a plumber? No other plumber's going to do that, for one thing, so it adds value. Second thing is, when it comes in the mail, or maybe they drop it round, that's going to have a huge impact because it immediately positions that plumber as the expert in the community.
And you get to set your own criteria for what constitutes the best plumber.
Well, that's right. There's that extra, that's really an advanced
well, we're out of time for this segment. But we only got to 2 of the 3. We're going to have you back. But folks, I would say this. Remember the key lessons that Andrew has given us today. Number 1, you have to differentiate yourself some way from the competition. You must zag, as the Brits must say. When everybody else zigs, we say zigzag, of course. And the second thing is, develop your expertise and demonstrate that expertise, and you will get a leg up on the competition. Andrew, again, an honor to have you here. Thanks for coming.
Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely.
it. And we'll have to have you back because we've got to get that 3rd principle and lots more. Okay. Thanks a lot. You stay tuned. We've got more.
There are all kinds of gurus telling you all kinds of things you can and should do to increase your sales. And to tell you the truth, isn't that what I'm doing right now? But here's the problem. While all kinds of people will tell you all kinds of what to do's, almost nobody tells you how to do it. Almost nobody tells you how you can make it all work and why it will. Almost nobody tells you the fundamental principles you need to employ in all of your marketing, regardless of the way you do it. Fact is, there are 4 essential marketing principles that should be the underpinning, the cornerstones of all your marketing efforts, anywhere, anytime, for any business. They're the how-to-do-its that will determine the success of everything from your business card to a billboard, from a tweet to an infomercial, from YouTube to network television, and from a website to a superstore. You'll discover these 4 essential marketing principles in my audio program called, strangely enough, The 4 Essential Marketing Secrets That Guarantee You'll Never Worry About Lousy Sales Again. I want you to have this audio program, which is normally, by the way, $77 in CD form, $57 delivered digitally, but I want you to have it for just $37 as a special welcome to the BizKaboom Small Business Marketing program. And I personally guarantee you'll be happy with it, or I'll refund the money and you won't even have to return the program. Just go to the 4 Essentials URL below to place your order and use the promo code BOOM1 to get the special deal. Or go to BizKaboom.com and click on the YouTube special to get the same deal. Remember, you won't pay $77 or even $57. You'll get the entire 4 Essential Marketing Secrets program for just $37. And I don't just promise you'll like it, I guarantee it, or your money back.
Now it's time for a segment we affectionately call Good, Bad, and Ugly Ads. This is where you get to take a look at an advertising specimen and vote on whether you think it's good, bad, or ugly from a marketing effectiveness point of view. Today's specimen is going to be a dimensional bonding campaign from a videographer who is trying to secure one single account. Would you spend this kind of money and go through this kind of effort to secure one single account? Well, take a look at the 4 videos that we're going to show you, and there's an explanation that goes along with each video, and then you'll see whether you think you would or not, because you'll get a chance to vote on whether you think it's good, bad, or ugly. What you're looking at right now is the assembly of part 1 of a 4-part dimensional bonding campaign put together by this videographer, whose name I will reveal in a few minutes. What he's doing is working on the concept of attention, interest, desire, and action as a formula for good marketing. This first package, which is going to a prospective customer that he's already made a presentation and a bid to in a competitive situation, is designed to highlight his marketing knowledge by talking about the need to capture attention. The use of the Volkswagen is along the lines of a story where if you're walking down the road and you hear a loud bang, you turn around and see a Volkswagen, you're not particularly interested. The noise captured your attention, but you're not particularly interested. And then he sets him up for the next mailing. In this video, the videographer is packaging up a toy gun. First of all, pay particular attention to the meticulous way he's developing the packaging and making sure it's put into place in a very elegant, highbrow kind of a way. You don't want to package this haphazardly, just throw it in with a bunch of peanuts. He wants to make a real presentation. The story of the gun relates to the story of the Volkswagen. The Volkswagen captured attention with the noise, but when it was only a backfiring Volkswagen, it failed to convert the attention into interest. On the other hand, if you hear a loud bang and turn around and see a man with a smoking gun, the attention is immediately converted into interest. And that is the topic of the letter that goes to the prospective customer with this toy gun. Here we are in video number 3 in the 4-part series, where the videographer is packaging up for delivery some gourmet chocolate bars, high-end, super high quality. How do we all feel about chocolate? It cultivates wanton desire. And that is the topic that the videographer addresses in the letter that accompanies this particular package. Now in video number 4, the videographer is packaging up a clapboard where you've seen them say action and clap the thing down when you're on a video set or watching somebody shoot a movie or a video. Well, so it has a direct connection to the videographer's craft, but it also sends a message about action. In order to complete a marketing message, you have to not only get attention, interest, and desire, but get the prospect to take action. And that is the message of the letter, the message of the clapboard, and the final piece in this 4-part dimensional bonding campaign that was sent by the videographer to his prospective client. The question for you at this point in time is, why go through all this trouble, and was it effective? Take a look at each piece, review each of the videos if you need to, but for sure you need to vote. Is this one good, bad, or ugly? You've had a chance to think about it, ponder it, examine the 4 videos and the concept behind the dimensional bonding campaign. Did it work? Is it good, bad, or ugly? Well, the ultimate measure of any marketing campaign is whether it works or not. And I can tell you that the videographer, who happens to be my son and the guy shooting these videos right now, was successful in landing a nearly $20,000 account with a fairly substantial national brand to shoot a special video for them. The important thing to know is that as these packages rolled into the office, the marketing manager who was in charge of making the decision in a very competitive situation on which videographer to use said that the entire office looked at these packages as they rolled in, were very anxious to see what the next one was all about, and the campaign went a long way toward convincing them that Ackerman Pictures was the way to go to get their video produced. So, when you take a look at it from an effectiveness point of view, you'd have to say it's good. When you take a look at it from an execution point of view, you'd also have to say it's good. And the master's take is good. Well, regardless of how you voted, I'm sure you found that enlightening. And your job is now to consider whether you can use a dimensional bonding campaign in your own marketing to secure those big and special accounts. And now, your other job is to stick with us. We'll be right back with more of BizKaboom. Hope you enjoyed this episode of BizKaboom Small Business Marketing. Please subscribe to the channel. Get your friends to do the same with your likes and shares. And we definitely want to hear your suggestions, content requests, and comments on the program, so leave them below. Then join us again next week when we'll have 2 more guests that will be talking about key marketing and business building secrets, along with some important instruction on how you can get more customers and more money from the customers you've already got. That's all coming up with a lot more in your next adventure in how to get more customers who will pay you more money more often, the fastest, easiest, most cost-effective ways possible, right here on BizKaboom. See you next time.